The median price for a home in the Toronto area in August 2022 was $930,000. That is down 23% from the peak in February when median prices were just over 1.2 million. So why did home prices crash 23% in 6 months? I mean, the common explanation for this is that high interest rates pulled a lot of demand out of the market, and that's why home prices fell. And while there is a little bit of truth to that, of course, the story is not just about high interest rates. And I think understanding why it's not just about high interest rates might help us understand why prices fell so quickly, understand some of the trends we're going to see on the ground right now, and some of the red flags we need to be looking for in the months ahead if we're thinking about what might cause prices to fall. So the first important thing to think about when we think about how housing markets traditionally cool down, certainly one of the first things that happens is demand comes out of the market, and that typically leads to an increase in inventory. Now, there's a quote from economist Carl Case that I think describes this well, and he wrote, another important aspect of housing market efficiency is that prices tends to be sticky downward. In most markets, when excess supply develops, prices fall quickly to clear the market. But housing downturns have been characterized by sticky prices. Sales and starts drop, but prices are slow to respond. So why are home prices sticky or on the way down? And Case offers another explanation. He says prices might be slow to respond to imbalances for various reasons. Since housing is heterogeneous, comparable sales do not represent identical units. So sellers are uncertain of the actual worth of their property. Also, sellers tend to view the worth of their property as embodied in comparable sales at the peak. The dramatic rise in inventory of unsold homes at the beginning of every downturn is a strong evidence of this stickiness. So in short, what he's saying, in the typical housing downturn, what happens is sellers are stubborn at the beginning. They're slow to adjust their price. Demand pulls back, inventory builds up, prices stick or just plateau for a while. And then eventually, once inventory kind of builds up too high, we end up seeing more downward pressure on prices. But if the theory is correct and prices are sticky on the way down, well, why the heck did home prices fall 23% in the GTA in 6 months? And on top of that, if every other municipality fall 23% in 6 months, why was this Toronto and the GTA a little bit more hard hit than the rest of Canada? Both the higher rates and the expectation of rates pulled a lot of buyers out of the market. Between May and August, every month in that period, sales have been at a 20-year low. But the question is, well, why didn't prices stick? Why didn't inventory build and then just sellers stick to their price? Well, what happened was a lot of the people who had listed their homes for sale and saw very few showings, unfortunately had to sell. They couldn't be that stubborn seller that sticks to their price because they had already purchased a home. And they needed to sell within a certain period of time so they could afford the next home that they were going to move into. And this is one of the primary reasons why we saw a rapid decline in prices, because there's been the norm in the GTA. People buy homes first. Once they bought a home, they end up listing their home for sale after the fact. And this puts significant pressure on them to sell in a very short period of time. And this is one of the big reasons why prices fell so dramatically. And what we've been seeing the past couple months as we move to July and August, we've been seeing a bit more of a plateau in prices. And prices have started to plateau, at least I believe, because we're seeing far fewer of these sellers who have bought homes and needs to sell. Today's sellers are far more patient. They're more likely to just take their home off the market if they can't get the price they want, rather than sell under pressure for a price that they think is too low, right? So this, I think, is one of the reasons why we're seeing a little bit of stability in prices. But again, if we think and if we believe the argument that, the next pattern is, eventually if sales remain low, inventory builds up, well, this is sort of the red flag that we're going to be looking for if prices are going to fall in the future. So the thing that we're going to need to keep an eye out for, of course, is increases in new listings, increases in inventory. And that's most likely going to be the sign if we see more downward pressure on prices, when we see a lot of inventory here in the market, a lot of homes not selling. That will be one of the key things that we should be looking out for. I hope you found the video helpful. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at askjohn@movesmartly.com.